So today for this final video, we're going to be going over financial aid. Because money is a big consideration when you're going to college. I'm not going to understate that. So for this one, we're going to be talking about financial aid and how it applies to transfer students. So in this outline, we're going to be talking about that. Most journeys are going to begin with FAFSA. I'm going to go over FAFSA, but honestly, I think if you're watching this video, you kind of already know what FAFSA is. Then I'm going to talk about grants and scholarships and where to find some. I'm going to be talking about those in FAFSA. And then I'm going to talk about how you're going to how you can negotiate. Well, it's better to say appeal, but negotiate gets it. Like that's the message. Like how to negotiate your financial aid with the colleges. So first thing to understand when you're transferring about your financial aid is that your financial aid will not transfer between your community college and the 4 you're going to. So that means you're going to have to reapply for financial aid at your new institution. That sounds like a pain, right? And it kind of is. So with that statement, I had two questions that popped into my mind. So the first question was, what if I took loans in my community college? What happens to my current financial aid and the loans? So if you're transferring, let's say, after you leave your community college, what's going to happen is that your loans, you're going to start paying them back. Well, first they're going to enter their grace period, but then you'll have the repayment. So you're going to have to apply for deferment on the current loans that you have. So that means going to your loan servicer, to their website, and submitting the form. Does interest occur while you defer? That's another salient question. It depends on the loan. Hopefully, you took subsidized loans and that was enough to cover your time at community college, unless you have the Promise Grant and you're in California. But no, but also yes, like it depends on the loan. If it was unsubsidized, etc., yeah, hopefully you took the subsidized loans. The next question is, what if my transfer is in the middle of the year? I talked about this a bit. Well, I mentioned it in the third video, but the reason why I'm an advocate for transferring at the beginning of the year is because that financial aid that you're having in the middle of the year, like the first part of the year, you're going to be at community college, that's not going to transfer over, man. That aid is going to be accounted for the financial aid award letter that you get from the university that you got accepted to. So if you transfer earlier, you might have some financial aid left, but if you transfer in later, you're gonna have no financial aid remaining because you already used it at your community college. So if that does happen, that you transfer in the middle of the year, you're going to have to submit a withdrawal and a request to have your remaining financial aid disbursement canceled. You might have to do that with FAFSA and your loan servicer. But definitely it's gonna help if you check in with the 4 you're interested in on your money situation to see if any of that financial aid will transfer over. Some of it depends on the type. Most of all, before you transfer over, you're gonna want to make sure your accounts are settled at your current CC, that you don't owe any money. Because if you do owe them money, they can do stuff like hold your transcript, and so you can't like submit it in your application. So you should keep them updated with your intent to transfer. So here I have some resources that this is basically what I talked about on the FAFSA website. Like this is general transfer guidance. The financial aid stuff is towards the bottom. The top part is like the past few videos. This one's about loan deferment, which I talked about earlier. There's some details. Visit the FAFSA website, because I'm certainly not a financial advisor. But yeah, most journeys begin with FAFSA. This is a friendly reminder to mark when FAFSA opens and closes. I'm pretty sure by the time of this video it's closed. I'm very, very sure because I kept Googling it while I was making this presentation. But aside from that, you should also mark the deadline for your 4 years financial aid deadline, when to submit that to them. So FAFSA will typically open October 1st and close June 30th. But the deadline for university to submit your financial information, it's somewhere between those dates. For UCSD example, the deadline for 2021 to 2022, I had to submit it by March 2nd, 2021. If you look at that calendar that I had in the third video, October 1st and March, it's not really, I mean, the application deadline's in like November and then March 6th. It's not really close, but like, honestly, you should just finish your FAFSA as soon as possible. You really should. First to like just have some peace of mind. Honestly, just do it earlier. If you do it earlier, it's one less thing to worry about. But the earlier you do it, the more money you have, because states and colleges, they get a limited amount of money for the financial aid that they give, and some of that aid is first come first serve. And if you're applying to multiple colleges, that's when you can get multiple financial aid award letters back sooner. So yeah, just do it as soon as possible. Don't trouble yourself. Don't be lazy. Please. But aside from that, and applying to FAFSA, as you might know, you're eligible. It assesses how eligible you are for grants. So for FAFSA itself, it's a federal grant. You get the federal Pell Grant. If you're interested in teaching as a career, they have a Teach Grant. So after you do all of that stuff, you can help pay back your loans or your financial aid by teaching. They'll put you in school and you'll help teach. But if you're a military family, you have scholarships for that. They might allow you to have federal work study. You're gonna have to get a job on campus, and that'll help pay for your expenses. There are grants given by the university that you're going to. They're university grants. When you apply, and they just run your application through the financial aid that they're giving you, they're gonna automatically be considered for some. But since I've been doing these videos on the assumption that you're gonna be applying in California, I don't know if this is the same for other states, but in California we have state grants. So the Cal Grant, you should apply for that. It's free money. And if you're a dreamer, undocumented, and all that related stuff, you have the California Dream Act. It'll definitely help. But regarding scholarships, well, scholarships, to be honest, they're pretty hard. You might get a lot of rejections. You might get a lot of no responses. But you should honestly just still try, because scholarships are free money, just like grants. You're not going to pay it back. Your 4-year might offer scholarships. Again, similar to the university grants, you might be considered for them automatically with your application, but some colleges, they have their own specific scholarship portals that you have to apply through. But in general, scholarship, you're going to have to search for. I think your best bet, honestly, is to search for them in your community. The organization that I work with, Spaces, we do occasionally have scholarships. We just had one recently. We were giving out like a free iPad and all the related accessories. Like I think it was an iPad Pro, if those even exist, to like 2 community college students and like 3 high school students. But you should really ask around. Ask anyone. Ask your academic counselors. Ask any professors or teachers that you still know. They might know something. But as a last resort, apply through the internet. I listed 2 websites there, goingmerry.com and unigo.com. I applied through them before, but I didn't get any. So I hope if you do choose them, you have more luck than me. But I just want you to keep in mind that for these grants and for some of these scholarships, if these scholarships are like multi-year scholarships, that you have eligibility requirements you have to maintain to continue receiving them. This is especially so with grants. So when you get into that university or college that you want, you got to be on top of your game to continue receiving that money. Now let's just move on to negotiating or appealing financial aid. So I said negotiate might not be the best word. Appeal is way better, because your financial aid, the award letter that the universities and colleges give you, is determined mathematically and by your financial need. And aside from that, you don't really want to demean the work that the financial aid office does, but there's a lot of stuff involved. It's it's as objective as it possibly could be. So when you do appeal, it's not guaranteed that you won't get money at all, but I'm pretty sure there's not any downsides, because like you're appealing your award letter. Like they already gave you acceptance to the university. They're really just gonna rescind that application because you wanted more money? Really? That's wild. But under what circumstances can you appeal financial aid? So there are 2 that I identified: financial circumstances based on need. There's merit-based circumstances based on your academic performance. So the first one we're gonna go over is your financial circumstances based on need. So what counts? Well, changes to your family contribution, your dependency status. It's pretty much anything that that drastically affects your financial situation. I listed here these two photos. Oops, what is that? The first one is for UCSD. It's the form to it's the requirements for changes in family contribution to your financial aid. You can see here if you're unemployed, if you have a disability, if like retirement happened with your parents, a death, divorce, children, or medical costs, like those kind of situations to your family contribution. You should definitely put those in if those happen to you, so you can appeal for more financial aid. But if your dependency status, if you want to contest that and you want to say you're independent and you might get more money out of that, you also have to prove that too. And UCSD has forms. I'll show you where those are later. But like generally, colleges will have forms on their financial aid websites. On the financial websites that for your appeals. You could also negotiate based on your merit. You can do this especially if you feel like your application in the past that you submitted that passed you compared to the you after you submit the application. If you feel like there's a discrepancy there, and like you did, like your academic performance just like, ooh, you killed it that semester, like you improved so much, you can appeal for that and see if you can get more merit-based financial aid. But when you do that, you have to consider what the 4-year typically offers in financial aid. You're going to want to compare that to your award letter. But really, you should think about your GPA, because it'd be really cool if your GPA like skyrocketed and really improved. Like you went from like a 2.0 to 4.0. That takes a lot, especially in the amount of time. I actually don't know if that's possible or not, but you want to compare the GPA that you improved with to the average GPA at your 4-year. Because I said before in the last video, the people that are applying, that are transferring in, their GPAs are going to be more than the minimum GPA requirement. You're going to be competing against them. So you got to make sure that those are squared away. Your GPA that you improve, that's good and kosher. You could also leverage your financial aid award letters between universities. Like you could probably show that you've been offered more at this one place, but this one place that you want to attend, you want to go there. So you're going to say, oh, hey, this place offered me more. Can I get some more, please? There are also circumstances where you just need more money, and you can appeal that too. You just need again, I'll talk about what you need and how to submit it, but you need to do some math. You need to sit down and do some math and like prove that the calculations that university gave for your financial aid award letter, that's different from what you can realistically pay. And keep in mind that states and colleges have limited financial aid to give. So how do you do it? How do you negotiate your financial aid? How do you actually submit an appeal? I said before, there's a form. You need to find that form. You need to find out where to submit it. Then you're going to fill out the form. You're going to have to explain the circumstances that qualify you to appeal your financial aid, that tell the university that you need more money. You're going to need documentation to prove that happened. So like those family circumstances I talked about, unfortunately, if it's personal, you're going to have to give some documentation for that. But after that, you submit the appeal, and then you wait a few business days for the decision. These two over here, those are examples of the form. This UCSD one for the family contribution one, it's located here on the Home for Financial Aid Colleges, or UCSD. They have their own place for forms, but it's over here. They have instructions in a PDF. This is that picture I showed you earlier, but yeah. You're gonna have to log on, make the request. You're gonna decide what request you're making, all of that jazz, explain it, give documentation, submit it, all that jazz. Same thing with the for SDSU too. If this will load, yeah, these. You can submit it as a student or a parent. Yeah, it's basically these things. They also, thank God, think there's lucky stars that they have these dates too. This is really helpful. I wish other universities have this too, but yeah. Requirements, information to qualify for an appeal, to make a strong one. But yeah, that's how you can negotiate your financial aid. Hopefully, I hope that if you do end up in a situation where you appeal, I hope that that's successful for you and that you get more money because you deserve your college. I talked about those college applications. The college is expensive, man. It's really expensive. But yeah, this is what we went over. I went over how financial aid changes as a transfer student. I talked about FAFSA deadlines, because I'm assuming you guys know about FAFSA already. I talked about the grants and scholarships that you're taking, loans, man. And I talked about how you can negotiate, or what's more accurate to say, appeal financial aid. But yeah, that was the last video in the So You Want to Transfer series. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate you. This is a pretty big endeavor. If I went over this pretty fast, as I said before, please feel free to email this or DM us at Instagram, UCSD Spaces. I had this whole spiel prepared about, oh my god, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you. I can reiterate that. I think I reiterated that enough. I hope wherever you want to transfer that y'all get in. I hope that the stars align and like everything works out for you. It's wishful thinking, but watching these videos, I hope that you feel empowered enough to actually take the step and apply. I hope this has been useful to you. And I hope that your transfer is smooth and successful. But yeah, thanks so much. It's Brian. It's been a good time. Thanks. See you around.